Hey guys, it's Becca Gamer or Rebecca. Welcome back to my channel, my lovelies. I hope you're having an amazing day today. And if you're new to my channel, hi. Thank you for stopping by. Let's get into this video. Haven keeps on messing with the cord. Don't be bad, Haven. So today in this video, I am going to be going over the TBR that I would like to achieve before the end of the year, 2026. Am I actually going to read these specific books for the rest of the year? I'm not too sure. But if I had to choose a priority TBR for the rest of 2026, I would choose these books here. I technically have 9 books here, but of priority there are 6, but that'll make more sense later. My goal every year, as always, is 1 book a month, 12 books a year. That's my bottom line. That's what I always want to be reading. This year, though, I have been reading a lot more than I normally do. Normally, I read, I don't know, I'd say maybe 2 books a month. The most books I've ever read in 1 year is 25. And right now, I am on my 23rd book of the year, so I am very close. I am 99% positive I'm going to hit 25 this year and still have a couple months left of the year. So my reading has been going very, very well. So I definitely think I'm going to read 6 more books this year for sure. We're coming up on the end of July, so there's only about 5 months and some change left, but 6 is still my magic number here. Without me continue on blabbering, let's get into the first book. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I do enjoy Jennifer Saint. She writes Greek retellings, and I have read Electra, Ariadne, and Atalanta by her. The other book that I own from her, which came out in 2024, is Hera. I love this cover. This is probably my favorite cover out of all of them. This was gifted to me. It's a nice hardcover. I cannot wait to start this. I am so excited to read this. After I read this, I know I'm going to be excited to pick up her newest release that came out this past June, I believe. That is This Immortal Heart. I really want to read that as well, but I'm trying to hold off until the paperback comes out, but this is definitely on my 2026 TBR. So Hera is Zeus's brother, and they overthrow their father, as the story goes, and Zeus basically betrays her, and I cannot wait. Continuing with the Greek retellings, I really want to read one of my Natalie Haynes books. I actually own Stone Blind by her. It's a full book, full novel. But what I want to get to first, I found used copies of Pandora's Jar and 1,000 Ships. Both of these are short story collections. I'm pretty sure they're both majority about women. This is just women in Greek stories, and then I believe this is specifically Trojan women. I'm very excited. I don't know which one I would pick in the moment, but I definitely want to get to, like, how do I own 3 books by Natalie Haynes and I've never read any of her books? I want to read one of them for sure, and I would pick one of the anthologies first. If you have a preference, if you've read either one of these or both of these, let me know which one you prefer so I can help myself choose. The technically 3rd book is a part of a series. Now, when I buy books, I try not to read them immediately because I have a backlog of a TBR here. So I do have 1 or 2 dark romances on my shelf, but they're from 2026. I've bought them this year, so I know I'm not going to read them because I have other books that I really, really want to get to before I read the books that I've bought this year. Is this a series that I really, really want to get to? I don't know, because it's a romance series, but I don't know how dark it really is. I just know that it's paranormal and it's set in New Orleans, and that really interests me. I love reading books that are set in New Orleans. I am talking about The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. A lot of people have talked about this series. A lot of people like this series. I've wanted to read this series for a while. And the reason that I actually heard about the series was years ago when I saw The Damned in store. I absolutely love this cover, and when I researched it, I realized it's the second book of a series. So I found The Beautiful used, and that was really exciting. And then when I worked at the coffee shop, a local author, she read this series and she didn't care for keeping it, so she ended up giving me the second book as well as the third book, The Righteous. This is technically a 4-book series, so there is a 4th book. I don't know what it's called, but it has a butterfly on it. Do I think I'm actually going to read all 3 of these? I'm honestly not sure. I am intrigued by it. I just don't know if the romance will be for me. I don't know if it'll be for me, my vibe, if you will. I don't know. I'm a little skeptical, but I am intrigued. And it would get 3 books off of my TBR if I read the series. It's just these are my last romances, dark romances on my shelf, like I said, except for the 2026 ones. So if I read these, I won't feel bad about picking up my 2026 ones. I just feel like I need to bite the bullet and read these. They've been on my TBR since 2023. That's almost 3 years, so I think it's time. Now, on to book number 4. I was like, I should probably choose a contemporary, and an author that I really want to read from again is Neal Shusterman. I have a few books by him. I have a book that's the start of a series. I have a teen or middle grade that is Greek, a Greek retelling at least. I have a few books by him that I want to get into, but the one that I chose to put on my 2026 TBR is Challenger Deep. I love this cover. I think the vibe of this story will definitely be up my alley. I love ocean-centric stories. And this one has always really intrigued me, and I want to know the ins and outs of the story and how it's executed. So Caden is on a ship that's headed for the deepest point in Earth, Challenger Deep, which is part of the Mariana Trench. Don't come for me. So he is documenting the journey with images, and he's split between his allegiance to the captain and the allure of mutiny. And it also brings up the fact of when he was in high school and his friends are noticing his odd behavior, and he joins track team and spends his days walking for miles absorbed by the thoughts in his head. So it definitely has a mental health aspect to it, and I'm really interested in it. And if I want to read one of my Neal Shustermans, this one is at the top. Then I was debating, like, if I read a nonfiction this year, what do I want to prioritize? And I want to prioritize the poetry that's left on my TBR. I have the one right now that's in my hands, and then I have one on my questionable TBR, but I will tackle that whenever I pick out a prompt in the jar. And if you're wondering about my questionable TBR, I will leave a video linked up in the eye explaining all of the books that are on it. And then if you want to go check out my TikTok, my username is on the screen. That is where I actually do the TBR jar picks, and whatever the prompt is, I have to follow it through one of the books and I read them. So go check that out if you'd like. So the 5th book is my last poetry on my regular TBR, and that is Light Filters In, Poems by Caroline Kaufman. On the back of the book, it says, "It's okay if some things are always out of reach. If you could carry all the stars in the palm of your hand, they wouldn't be half as breathtaking." And I just thought that's really interesting, and I like some of the artwork that's in here. The cover is very simple but pretty, and I don't know, I'm not a poetry kind of gal, and now that I've read Watering the Soul by Courtney Peppernell, I really enjoyed her poetry, so I've just bought 2 more of her books, and I think that's how I'm going to read poetry if I'm ever in the mood for it. So I just kind of want to get the last poetry that's not hers off of my shelf, so this would be the priority. And the last book, the 6th book, that is my priority 2026 TBR. I didn't have really any other books that I wanted to read for specific reasons or because of a specific author, so I was just kind of perusing my shelves and being like, as a random pick, are any of these ones that I really want to prioritize? I feel like it's been on my TBR for a long time and I just really want to get to it. I chose The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. I love this cover and I think this concept is so cool. Clara is an Everwitch. For centuries, witches have maintained the climate, but now their control is faltering as the atmosphere becomes more erratic, the storms more destructive. All hope lies with Kara, a once-in-generation Everwitch whose magic is tied to every season. So the witches in this book, the Everwitches, their power is tied to a specific season. But our main character, Clara, is tied to all of the seasons. And I don't even really need a plot. I just think that concept is so cool and I want to read a book where that is executed. So this has always interested me since I've heard of it. I've heard people talk about this and they've really enjoyed it, so that kind of just secured my want of reading this book. The plot goes, Clara wants nothing to do with her power in autumn, and then in winter the world is on the precipice of disaster. In spring she falls for Sang, the witch training her, and then in summer she must choose between her power and her happiness. I am stoked to read this. So I thought this was a perfect pick to prioritize in 2026 because this is the one out of my backlog that really gets me excited. I've had this on my TBR since 2022. Almost 4 years, so it's definitely time. And those are all of the books that I want to prioritize for the rest of 2026. If you have read any of these and you liked them, hated them, comment down below. Let me know what you think. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like, comment if you can. If you enjoyed this video or want to see more from me, check out my channel. Click subscribe if you haven't already and you want to stay a while. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I will see you guys later. Bye!
High volume. High volume.
Am I really there?